Okay, some evidence. I'm doing this on both channels. Okay, evidence, right, some dates. Our targeted program. Yeah, from the birthday. Where did I find that page? I had it a minute ago. Where did the first page go to? I'll find it in a minute. Here we go, found it. 5th of October 1965, as a baby, 1 year old, I had a rash and some skin problems, apparently my medical notes, up until jumping up to 1977. An abscess was the first, whatever that was meant to be, operation, admission to hospital in Devon, UK. Then the notes miss a bit to 1980s, some kind of viral infection then, jumping through again to 1982 when I had my daughter. Nobody all these years had told me that I couldn't have a child naturally. So she was a breach 4 weeks early, jumping through again acute tonsillitis type infection. Jumping to my second child, 1984, emergency C-section, where they broke his collarbone on delivery. I got the evidence or records of that. Then jumping on to started having problems, gynae problems as a woman. And after that, 1985, then the strange headache. So what the hell did they inject me with? I do not know. In 1985, I started getting physical pains, jumping throughout that whole year. Yeah, so I don't know what the hell they messed about with me in the gynae region. And all these jumping on to the same, there's a lot going on throughout that year. So they definitely must have got the medical documents in front of me. A lot of entries. Parts of the body to have a look, see what's going on. 1986. Bloody hell, there's a lot of entries. Yeah, 87 as well. Constant problems with a gynae. So what the hell did they do to me when I was out of it? When they did a C-section on me as well. This part of the UK all those years ago. Started getting the headaches as well in 1988. The tonsillitis problems. Infection in the throat problems. Still throughout that year, 88, 89. fractures, and then yeah. So really, my gynae problems all resulted from the butch operations. I was very young at the time, youngish. The C-section. I said to my son years ago, you could sue them for malpractice and negligence, medical negligence. He didn't want to seem much to do with it. But they did not diagnose me. A different place in London, UK hospital, till 2002, of a certain shape, body, eternally, woman's parts, and that was missed in my area all these years ago. Unfortunately, the September 1992, I was well, it jumps up really to January. Physical violent attack was up in, where was that holiday place? Well, actually, I'm jumping a bit, so let's go back to the 12th of February 1990 is where I had fractures of my skull and bones. I forgot all about that. It's in my medical notes. Assaulted by my ex Freemason. Well, he was before this happened. He was my husband. I shouldn't have married him really. And then I got divorced eventually and got rid of him, but he was a stalker. Then there's a period I had to break from all that. He got done for what he did to me. But then there was another jumping on to the year 91. Not much happened until I met somebody in 1993. Violent assault, and I was being stalked, and my old house broke into quite a few times. He got done for that. So therefore, because of the violent effects of those two injuries, where was I? Yeah, 90, what year was that? That was 90, March 1995, of that evil, nasty man, and he was a Freemason businessman, violent, and so I was assaulted, and he kept breaking in my old house too. He got done eventually by the police. And then because of it was horrendous violence, so I was referred in November 1996. It was meant to help with women in those days that sustained domestic violence, and they didn't really do anything. They were just wanting to look at my childhood rather than those two violent encounters. Moving on, the dental problems started soon after. So I wonder if that fractures to my skull and the lymph in my body by the violent men at that time had anything to do with the stress in the body causing infections, I don't know. Into the dental abscess started happening in 1997. So I didn't really get any dental real treatment. So I'm looking at jumping up to the years 1997. I had another violent situation. I can't remember much about that particular one, of the year 1998, April 1998. So I can't read my own writing in that particular entry. Yeah, so it's constant throat, viral infections, head injuries. Not very pleasant journey at that time either. Jumping up to, as I said, 1999, August, referral to the effects of what happened to me. Then I was always trying to be healthy, i.e. into the gym, working out. By the year 2000, I was into the gym. 2001, my knee started to work out in the gym. I was referred to orthopedic clinic beginning of 2002. Yeah, I remember that locally, and they did nothing about it. Ultrasounds in July in London found that I've got a heart shape wound, not a normal size, not a normal designed wound. I don't know how that, I never knew all this until they did scans on 2002 in London Specialist Hospital, gynae type hospital, and they'd diagnosed the fact I should have never really had children. It's too dangerous. So why the hell didn't they diagnose me locally years ago with that? That could have prevented all those health problems. I did try to sue years ago, mind you, when I found out, and I didn't get anywhere. So there's a hospital admission 2003. So was that to do with, I don't know specific, I can't read my notes. Oh yeah, they let me down locally, so I was referred in London 2003. I think the operation was to have a look around and specialist scans and things. Right, then we're jumping on. I'm going back to, okay, specifically where the notes is relevant. A period of December 2002 was a gynae clinic. It doesn't mention anything about a period of sort of like 2 weeks before the end of, I'm just looking at my notes. Yeah, I've got December the 2nd, 2002. I'm just now looking at notes. Right. I was, after the horrific attempt on my life in 2002, end of December 2002 that is, there's a missing gap. There isn't any entry on the notes for that particular period. It's missing. And it should be, because I ended up in hospital. Um, there's only an entry on the 4th of November 2003. There's a year gap, and I just dawned on me because there's another subject I'm looking into, and I thought, well, let's just look at these old notes I've got and just try and link up the dots. So there's a year missing, because I remember vividly why I ended up in that hospital with the injuries I sustained. Yeah, so the anniversary date, I was dealing with a UK involved in as a witness to a murder trial throughout 2003/4. So of course the effects of that causes the psychological effects of trauma. So I'm just looking at the entry notes. So that was when the national media just literally got all things wrong about my private life. I was a witness and survivor, and I didn't know all this years ago, by the way. So there's an entry date where I was in hospital because of that. January 2004. But I think it was just an A&E department, says. Yeah, it would tally up though with the physical effects of the body or the horrific things I sustained. So jumping on to, just a lot of information. So jumping on, there's a lot of other information I remember. But they're jumping on to February 2007. Let me see on the other page, that was that date. Right, let me just tally up what happened next. So that was December 2007 as well. February. Okay, so let me jump on to 2008. I got referred to orthopedic knee place in my area, UK, and they misdiagnosed me in my knee. So I got referred to a specialist in 2008. Yeah. So for some strange reason, they've got that entry, that year taken out on my notes also, because I specifically got other paperwork where I didn't get diagnosed correctly either. Of reference to my knee, definitely. Yeah, because in the referral to the specialist, got the dates. So yeah, I was a 5-day stay ward in hospital. The knee up examinations weren't working, so got referred to that year 2008. Just looking at my entry notes. I had to fight to get referral. Took quite a while to London specialist place, but then beginning of the year 2009 doesn't give much entry information. I know because there's the dates are jumping about. Here we go. I've got some other entry dates, 2006. Yeah, okay. Right, I've got just start here. So, Pacific, there's a lot going on building up to this. So, 2000 and evidence of target individuals. I tell you, these are what I found in 2013. I forgot all about it. So I remember certain public servants in the UK were trying to make up lies about me back in 2008. What offer services in my area UK medically had failed to actually, you know, get my medical records correct. So yeah, that violence all those years ago. And then you go for another situation, 2002. Other physical issues at the same time. There's a lot going on. And then that was 2008. And then I was offered, because the New York didn't work locally, I was offered minor care in my old house years ago in 2008, and that's when I started getting the abuse of certain females in my old house. I reported it all. It took me forever to win my case against certain public servants that period, and it's meant to be you have 6 weeks free, which was like discharged old system, discharged from hospital to your old house, and I had a 3-story house with 3 lots of stairs. No, hold on, 2 flights of stairs. That's quite a lot with a dodgy knee. So it wasn't ideal. So it was about trying to recover. I think they called it operation that didn't work. So that's why I got referred to another specialist. And loads of other things happened anyway. Moving on from 2008, 2009, beginning of the year, February, was I was being referred to London specialist to do some muscle tests, and they're meant to like do more in depth. But that was on the cards, and I was waiting for that. So there's any entries, it's jumping on now, from January. Let me just have a look at the entries. February 2009, and there's a missing period as well. In beginning of 2009 in February. I don't know where those missing entries in my medical notes are, because all I know, soon after there's a period where I had my old house broken into, and obviously my kids, well, they're adults by that time, moved away, and the violentness of the old house got broken into late at night by 3 unknown individuals of a secure double glazing door. Meant I had to be displaced out my old house years ago. That wasn't necessary when you got a dodgy knee and you can't get back because your mobility aids at the old house. So that was an emergency move out for my safety. Police never found the individuals. I had 2 witnesses to it all that used to live opposite years ago, and that's why I ended up moving down here. But as soon as I had loads of looking around for somewhere else to move, I lost my old house for 20 years renting, and because it's unsafe, I couldn't go back for my safety. Otherwise, it wasn't wise, and I ended up trying to find somewhere else to move. So I had all that year, 2009. But as soon as I moved here, by November 2009, I'll get run over. An idiot car up the road, the male, jumped the curb, and the back wheel went over my left side of my foot. I'm on the path. He jumps the curb. And I've got all these witnesses in my old ambulance notes, record notes, times when the ambulance police were called. Police failed to turn up. The ambulance crew were very good, apparently. Witnesses are very good, apparently, because I don't remember much about it. I fell head first, well, the back and the head on the concrete floor. I was only can remember a woman next to me on the floor, and I just kept calling out to call my sister. So she found my phone in my bag with my sister's number on it, and she got the attention of my religious family members to come to my aid at hospital. But there was no investigation by the religious police. As soon as I got to hospital, my mum and her church friends at the time were there and witnessed the police bloke saying that, oh, you're at fault, and I'm on morphine in that consciousness. And my mum was furious. How the hell could I be at fault? I'm the one that got injured. All they did was interview the driver, and he did speed out of nowhere. I remember that because it's a fine day. There's cameras opposite me, CCTV at the time, at the road, and yeah, so I didn't know how serious injuries were because all they x-rayed for was the left foot. They didn't do the neck, the spine, the shoulder, or nothing, and they messed it all up. I got I don't know how long it took to get recovery from the back wheel ran the foot over, and it was luckily nothing was broken. But all the torn muscles, ligaments, everything like that was really not great. And I didn't know how the head and the brain was affected from the injuries until the year entry date. My medical notes is 2010 was the first stroke, TA. I suddenly lost use of I didn't even know it was a stroke or what it meant. I just suddenly lost use of my left hand, side, arm. The whole left side had a massive head and it's they call it a minor TA. And that was my experience of then being involved with these public servants. 6 weeks first of the care, and then that led me ever since to date, well, not to date, but up until a certain time, a date, because that was the first one, 2010, May 2010. And because the effects of that, I ended up in a wheelchair. At the time, it was a Red Cross manual one because I was being assessed for a powered electric wheelchair because I just could not get the use back of my left side of my body. then at the same time having to suddenly get used to 6 a day females 7 days a week in my home. I had no idea what all this care meant, and I had no idea. It was all of a shock, all of a change as well. So the evidence eventually got was that the driver was at fault. My insurance company, my legal insurance at the time, wouldn't pursue the driver because the police had failed to do an investigation. There wasn't even a bloody report, although I got the ambulance reports and tried, and if the police had turned up to the scene, they would have got 9 to 10 witnesses. So it read in the ambulance report. Yeah, so my mum did make a public appeal in the newspaper, I think, and to call out for witnesses to come forward, but we didn't get any joy. So that was my experience of the physical reduction starting in a big way. Yeah, so being in September 2009, and then I get one over November 2009, the same year, and then end up with being having to be wheelchair bound by 2010. And then all these assessments, so by 2011 I had the second stroke. That was a big one, and I had to be assessed for all this medical equipment all those years ago and learn how to use it all, especially 2012 as well. But then these care companies, I had no clue what all this information, what the system was about these years ago. So I took it on good faith that was a company in the UK, old stations to make my home adapted a bit more easier to get around these entering doors and things in a wheelchair. So instead of wanting to do the minor, small, quite small and straightforward adaptations, they wanted me moved out my flat. And he just, I haven't been here that long. And so I remember all those years ago looking for somewhere else, like a bungalow or something, but everywhere I was searching for with my medical equipment and stuff. Yeah, the local public servants and the housing side. Everything's changed the policies now, of course, but I had no clue. Well, I started learning more in 2012 because of it all. So, yeah, it was very difficult to adjust to all these. One company went bust, a care company, and I was displaced from this home into 3 different care placements during 2012, and it was hell. It was disgusting. I won't go into all that. So that was the last one. Because of that, I had at the time public lawyer, and my other sister at the time helped me to get home. And my experience of the last place, I won't go into where it was. I'm not here to go in specifics, but those people had tried to assess me, reassess me, and tried to make out that my physical injuries were made up. Was that their intention? Because I'd soon found out that that particular company was forced upon me without consent, without a contract, without my signature, and they just implied because of the place where I was ended up was run by a company. So they assumed their care coming for me, but I tried to during when I eventually got home. Latter part 2012, 2013, I was trying to get my payment to offer to hire my own care, personal assistance, that kind of thing. Got blocked every corner. That's when there's a period during that time adjusting to the first stroke, coming out of hospital, and then being referred to, because of the effects of trauma, a place called Post-Traumatic Stress Place Specialist in London. Yeah, and it went into the current circumstances, and that was May 2010. That was not far off since I had the first stroke, and then after being run over, as you can imagine, it weren't very pleasant. And the manual wheelchair I had wasn't, the people that got me to that place in London. At the time, I had 2 beautiful cats, harmless, but then there was loads of lies about me. A certain individual, he's still this opposite, he made up, and yeah, it was since the operation on my left knee, was unable to monopolise either. So yeah, it started off the knee having no ability to walk because they didn't operate properly, and they cut some bone part. There was no cartilage left in my left knee. Before, I didn't even know this when I got went over, and the operators in 2008, they found there was problems with the knee function and muscle lack of, and so by the 2009 being went over, it just made it worse. So by 2010, I was not in a fit state physically. So there's a reference to state in 2010 about my housing as well. So yeah, I had a lot of paperwork to deal with. I won my case against servants and compensation. It wasn't a lot. It was 2011. So I was put on these sleeping tablets because of the flashbacks of all these years of not great history of medical and experiences of dates. Anyway, I'm going now on to where this woman in May 2010 was probing about my past from what I can remember of my childhood. Now, there was a period of while, but there's specifically things I remember what my late mum would say to me about my father, which I never knew. But yet, my other elder brothers and sisters, half brothers and sisters, and some meant to be real, never knew real truth anyway about my upbringing. But I did eventually find out, but all due respect, this targeted program affected my mum, what she went through as a kid. So she was on Prozac medications all those years ago. All I can remember is that is, I mean, there was in good parts, but my elder brother was the main one, making sure we were okay. So what I put me just about mention. So, but she was a very intelligent woman. Did her best, but she got pulled in to join a particular about it. I was just raised in it, didn't know no different. Anyway, it was very strict. So all those early years, I witnessed a lot of things as a kid you wouldn't want to witness. So my mother was no fit state to be a mother. She just was out of it a lot of the time. That's quite a few years ago. Let's see if it ties up with the early dates of my medical records. Yeah. There are periods of 72 and there's periods of 77 of my childhood periods where there's a lot of not very nice things happening. So eventually that guy that my mum was involved with died, thank goodness, in that way, because he wasn't a nice bloke. But she was helped to move away from the area, South UK, and move up to Devon. And I think things started getting better. She was healing, which is good. But by that time, the family started splitting up, going off, getting older, moving away, getting jobs. And I was the only one left at home. So we're looking in the really late 70s, 80s, 80s, 1980, 81. Finished the schooling, college. Really had some really good times actually for, early that period of time. Away from the religious upbringing, I broke away. I got away from it. Got a job, moved away from home sort of thing. And I wasn't going to be broke away from the upbringing I had sort of thing. And came back to visit my mum occasionally, but then she met somebody else in this religious occult. And then, I got a job in a really beautiful hotel overlooking the coast, lovely environment to work in. Met somebody and my kid's father, and that didn't work out. So, shall we say, certain things happened, and you go back home, you think you're going to get support by your family member, and they don't really want to know, so he said the best thing for you to do is move up here. So yeah, so I think really a lot of that period of really nice freedom and a career are starting to have completely diminished. And then my mother, late mum, I just moved abroad, got a couple of jobs, and I was sold up and I was left without a place to live. And yeah, it didn't help. I lived with my elder brother, and he was very brother. Started up lies about me. I soon found this out years later, mind you, what they were. I still got it. That was 1983. Pacific year was 1984. I still got the cutting. I got the item my mum informed me, the things that she found out years later. So whatever they did to me, medical records and their dates and things, and then they took my 2 kids off me on false pretenses. I got them back very quickly, but I don't know what the hell they did to my bloody. That must have had an effect. Or I don't know if young children can remember much. Things different. But yeah, I was able to win that case as well at the time, and it was just luck perhaps. So I moved away from where I used to live, got my own place, as I said. My own, getting my kids into self-defense classes, that kind of thing. Focusing on them basically, making sure they're right in their personal lives. And then unfortunately, as I said, I met a couple of nasty people later on in life. And let's go on to my notes. Goes in about my late mum, goes in about me at a young age. I was very academic at the time, and then I just mean, when you have a history of witnessing things as a kid, and then as a young adult, and then you get run over, and then your health goes down. I don't know how I keep surviving, but I do. In that regard. So yeah, there's timelines missing in my notes, my records, and the circumstances behind a lot of this. 2010, when I was referred, it would be helpful if you have a report done of the effects of the attempt on my life. That was very in depth. 2006, 2007. It's a long document, very detailed, and that it was mainly for the court because the old lawyers, I found the old records, had failed to inform me. To call perhaps a letter. At those days, I didn't know this because there was all the care I was getting from my physical reduction, my health. So they failed to inform London, UK court system employees that I could not travel to London. So we're looking at the year 2008. This is what started my research. 2008, November year, was when the old lawyers, and I didn't know this at the time, of course, had made an appeal, which I wasn't sure what the hell was going on because I didn't know how it worked. I was relying on their opinion because they were helping the women that died as well soon after in London, UK. I was involved in that case as a witness. Won't go into specifics, but it was led to believe, you can make a compensation, criminal injuries, I think they called it at the time. And I remember I informed them that I am unwell. The physical reduction in my health. And I remember it's a bit strange in a way because I remember soon after that court case, I was getting all these physical reduction in my health just on the physical side. Teenagers at the time, my own son and daughter. I tried to get a remedy. I tried to inform them that after the first stroke that I'm not in a position to deal with matters because I would have to move emergency matter from my old house. Then my alteration, my operations. I need to and instructed them to do that. But instead of doing that, they failed to inform me that it might be a medical letter might be required. That I cannot deal with these matters myself. I cannot travel to London, and this is a basic reason. And if they need the letter by the doctor, then I should have been informed, and I was not by these old lawyers. They failed me. So I did my best within the care and reduction of my health to inform them in March. I think it was the end of 2010, best I could, because I got the old documents still. Even by fax, I remember one was the fax. So in March 2011, the old lawyers did require an adjournment on medical grounds, but they failed to let me know that I need the letter from the doctor to confirm the grounds for that. The case management procedures, what they do at that time. Of course, I was in no fit state medically, physically, to do anything of this myself, because I had another stroke in 2011. So that stopped everything then. And so instead, I got accused of history or previous requirements of adjournments, and that the old lawyers were doing, but they weren't putting the medical evidence in, and I had no idea they might need a doctor's letter. So I was let down by the old lawyers. So in March 2011, I tried to get this appealed, but this particular guy, he just blocked it. He denied everything, and that started where I am today. He caused it all, this guy called Anthony, and then the old lawyers failed me. So what the hell was I meant to do? So I did report to the old lawyers, head of the who so I was no fit state medically to do anything, and I wasn't able to. So you can imagine a lot of care and a lot of assessments of equipment and stuff. And then after I had the second stroke, that was it. I lost completely the use of my left side. So and then the care company went bust 2012. So I did my best myself to inform the head office of criminal injuries compensation limited in Glasgow, where they used to be based, of the situation briefly, and did by 2015. I've still got the documents, and nobody had responded at all to me. So that's 5 years, and so therefore I didn't hear nothing, and I was just coping with 2012, 13, 14, a nightmare, being ill-treated in my own home by certain individuals in the care system, and I won't go into all that right now. So I had my private friends arrangements take over in 2014. Had to break it in to get the ambulance crew in because I had lost powerless. I was powerless. I couldn't move. I was streaming online with my daughter-in-law at the time, and she was the one all those miles away calling the ambulance and stuff. So she did a statement of what she witnessed and stuff to assist me, and all that just been dismissed. All that medical evidence and what happened and stuff got dismissed. Housing dismissed it. Yeah. How can you make up a major event like that? You can't. So looking up my childhood medical history and the dates and my past experiences with the things I just mentioned, it all ties up with the targeted program MK Ultra with my mum, my brothers and sisters, myself to date. And when I've looked at the history of documents and patterns the other day, it just dawned on me they're just using an excuse, another angle of criminal injuries compensation or agents, company and individuals to reopen a matter of 2019. And here we are, 2021, because everything I done, they failed me, malpractice, in 2000, for 5 years, no response. Don't keep a case open. But when they reopen it, so if you include 2008 and 2011, how many years is that? Then you add on from, add up all the dates really, and here we are still going through this 2021 year, and how many years is that? In a civil matter, you don't ever in England have a civil case keep open for all these years. In a civil claim, it's statute barred in their system of 6 years. So this was a deliberate build up the history. Everything's timelined. The dates and medical history is all being timelined. It's like your life playing out in front of you. It's all the timelines of evidence. Yeah, so here I am now. Only finding out not that long ago, and the reason I can't take the payment it is the financial position I'm in, and all that evidence was sent twice now, affidavit. I've learnt a lot more about law. The physical health is not recovered, so I'm permanently wheelchair dependent. They're not medical equipment. But the fact is, when the housing blocked all repairs, first they're going to do it in 3 days, and then they decided not to do it. Then they decided it will be coming in for the week after arrangements, how we're going to do it. Emails to and fro throughout 2017 until I end up in hospital. I'd negotiated with them since 2018. My mum passed 2018. I was going financial nightmare at the same time. Everything was thrown at me throughout the year 2018 as well. Test of strength, I tell you, endurance. And then I got failed, so as I said, private arrangements of my care, mum paid for, and they do their best. But the housing doesn't help, because when they block the repairs in the situation it is now, many offer services for private dwelling of certain individuals representing the companies. We'll just look at that bloody wet room. And now the way the world is, a certain subject, it's just like condemn the bloody place, but there's nowhere else to move to. And it's not of my doing. I've worked with various people for so long, and they've disregarded my physical health. And they're just making a beeline and putting labels on me I don't even have. And now they're abusing all the due process all over again. So now it's national and it's local. It's all combined together now. And so to weigh these public servants nationally, 2020, 21, and they ignored that again. Every bit of information I did to assist them to endeavour, but at the time I did not know of their system, case management, that of a process nationally, how it works with people in my situation. You can't take a payment if it's over a certain amount. You cannot take it if you're on disability income. It just affects everything. And then they backdate it to the date of the incident of 2002. So I would owe more than the amount that was being offered, and I'll be left without anything. It affects everything. So when I set it out in their own policies, everything was all done correct structurally this time. Well, it was before, but more professionally done. So when you write to the CEO who's responsible for the policies of the companies and you get no response and they ignore it, the affidavit of fact, truth, statement, rebuttal as well, then they just set up another hearing, this time by video, which I struggled to do on this particular subject. And a certain individual they got involved, local public servant, was the very one that set me up and failed me. In March, I got the printout, which she said, in 2017. From that date, right up throughout 2018. And then in national media, that company in this area went bust as a limited company. So the new terms of contract should have been offered. I've got a report of April 2019 confirming I wasn't just the only one, that the national policies have been breached for people in my situation. But it wasn't about a financial remedy, it was about an apology. I didn't even get that. And the only remedy I got offered was they already had all the SOT reports and what equipment and things I've got, etc. Just enough aid them to aid. And I need them not what would trigger off like that. And so yeah, the remit is not met. So I said, Audrey, is that I reject the offer, because at the moment, well, now here we are with the situation of CV19 situation. I think I spell it out. It's just, it's all changed. UK policies and subject people in my situation. So then out the blue, they 2019, as I said, reopened the matter, and then I'm dealing with their offers, And now recently again, as I said, I'm just responding back and say, well, this is the reason I have to reject it now. So it's a long time to find out. And nobody in 2008, and throughout all these years, not one agent, the public servants in England, had told me in any manner, shape or form that this would affect, if I take any offer of payment that happened 3 years ago, compensation, it will affect me this way. And I've set it all out in the affidavit. So if it's malpractice on their end, a breach of due process, and yet nobody's held accountable in the UK statute law system. Not one. Yet I did the best I could with my reduction of my health, and now they're trying to imply I defend her well. So I had sent, as I said, the affidavit off in time. Me all over again. So they dug up information from 2008 to offer me a new contract 2019, and I did write back to the CEO, local public servants, to seek clarification what's been offered and why. Because I'm, fight how this systems and the records. It could, when there's contracts in England with they share the database, you don't even know about it sometimes, and they know exactly what's going on. So I had looked into other venues before 2020 what could feasibly be available in my situation, people like me, and the two venues and places I did contact, just even though I met the right remit and age group, didn't want to know, declined. But at the same time, I've got lawful rights. Yeah, so these the same female called Susan, she just lied again. So if this guy from 2008 had not falsified his incorrect information, I wouldn't be in this situation right now. If I'd known they might have required a medical evidence of a letter from the old doctors, and the old lawyer said that at the time, I might not be in the situation I am now. But sadly, when you link up the medical history in docs, and then it's like, okay, so I've had all this childhood entries, records, all those years ago. I've had these operations years ago. I've had this horrific violence years ago. And then run over, unluckily, and then the strokes, and then the housing distribution, which is not correct. I've got the same things I started learning about law, and I did think by email. Well, landed, email. So there's a paper trail, and she lied in March this year to those agents and certain public servants nationally, and they're being covered up because they didn't like the fact a certain female from 2008 in a job in the complaints department well, put it this way, when I won my case of the face of UGK all those years ago, she's still in her job now, 2021, and she's blocked what happened to me in my own home by certain individuals in a serious injuries to my body. 2 females against 1. Who they're going to believe? those two females or me. I kept journals and diaries of everything that happened, who did what and how, photo evidence, and they still didn't want to know. So when they put your data on their system, if it's not done correctly, they're going to just label you and just target you and just disregard everything, which is unlawful. So when they monitor your computer systems and internet things these days, I mean, I'm the old school, I know how to survive without a computer. And technology. And the fact is, medical systems all change. So I've had to learn everything differently again. And I'm very good at all that. So best what I can anyway. So yeah, I had a fall on, really bad one, because when you're dealing with this paperwork and responses and correct their untruths, and I was told in 2017 if I get another one, the effects of my spine injuries and stuff, I won't recover next time round. The brain is a complex thing when it comes to the I'm not an expert on the part of the brain where it's injured from the car accident years ago, but it's at the back of the head, just at the top of my left, and so I have to keep focused. And but this is what they do with the targeting program and technology. I mean, I had no clue about all this. I really had no clue. How back in history, the technology, the evidence, the documents I've read and found, and until 2018. So my medical notes, dates, there's, as I said, there's years, I'm missing out my medical notes. And I do wonder how many other people like me are out there that are not aware. They think it's just bad luck or coincidences, these things happen, but not all of it is. And you can't change what's happened. You're just going to try and deal with here and now. Because it's not just me though. There's so much things that are going on in the world. Trials and tribulations and a spiritual level too. So on the spiritual level point of view, when you go through all this so much, it's about relearning again how to live a life, which is different of course. Getting ill of self. And but I thought I'm not giving up with the skills and knowledge. So the old skills knowledge I had from other things, I've just put it into learning about certain subjects and more. Certain powers that be like to bombard me with so much bloody offers of contract and offers of assumptions when you have to constantly trying to respond, and they just want you in that cycle of to distress the mind, body and soul, to bring your vibrations low and to get you into it was a PO box in British Royal Mail in their own policies. Royal Mail PLC states if you're not sure what the offer is and it's a PO box and you can't even find the company location officially, by a PO box sometimes, you return to sender. It's lawful. So now I've been questioned about that. And then I've got whoever's tampering with my mail, those particular return to sender documents are being sent back to me. And whatever has been put on it for me to let them know that you're unknown, whoever this company is, this PO box, if you want to offer me something, then put that information in your correspondence clearly marked, and therefore I can do it accordingly. So yeah, I've got evidence of mail tampering, which is fraud, and I've got photo evidence of this too. So that's on top. So I think this world is turning upside down. It's not just me though. There's a lot of people you can go online, websites, social media, and find there's a lot of unfortunate situations and people going through. People are homeless, living out cars, still a lot of people in temporary accommodation. So I have to plan everything carefully, and just in case, because it's not that simple. You can't just hire somebody with man to van to put stuff in storage for just a rainy day, because those places are not open yet. And then when you're targeted, well, you're the one who's on a list. I mean, who puts someone on a list? What, because you dare to question something, you dare to question national policies or local corporations' policies, and you dare to sort of seek clarification. If you want my data online, well, is it going to be sold? You know, who's it going to? And you're just seeking clarification, and that's what's done twice again on a different subject. And then where will that data go? And that's all one was doing. And straightforward stuff really in that part. But no, they have to twist it all. She's not this and she's not that. You know, it's a character assassination again. So I've taken a notice a lot of the minor stuff because I'm pathetic and childish. But when it comes to important matters of fact, it has to be set as that. And these maritime law, the administration, civil matters, what's been going on for too long, is totally incorrect. It is not the lawful, correct process to do things. So I've been in honour, and I just responded. I've kept things just very basic, and yeah, unfortunately, if I was in a position to take X amount of criminal injuries without affecting my situation at the moment, I would have done a long time ago, I tell you. And I would have looked into specific mobility type. I don't know whether it's a caravan or mobile home or something adapted for people with my needs. I would have done that. If it's affordable, I would have done that. I moved that away a long time ago. But it's not that easy. So, not anymore. Anyway, so missing dots, missing timelines throughout my information. All this data is the databases now being used. The technology of on-target individuals, the hacking into this main, even without the Wi-Fi on, it's not just mobiles, is it? It's all sorts of technology, satellites. It's the subjects I know about now. It is at least I'm aware now. The point being is it's not going to go away. and the fact is how I correctly respond to offers is lawful. But we're not living in there's a darker side of life that people might not know about, and what with the dark web and everything else. Things I know about all these years I've got to know. I don't speak about. I will not. You just sometimes feel like you want to shout the top of your lungs and get it all out and let people know. But the fact is, not everybody is in that stage of mindset to be take the information in. And where would you go? Because if I'm been in all these years in this situation and history of things, you go through things in this physical existence and then you just move on eventually. It's important to deal with issues. You can't bury your head in the sand, and you can't ignore effects of something, because I worked that one out years ago by some people I've got to know on social media platform in a different manner years ago. It's very spiritual, very tuned in with the spirituality, consciousness of the mind, and used to do some very good shows actually years ago. Met some really lovely people, and that's before I knew about target individual subjects. I've always been into natural healing, and so my injuries are more my left side. So all I can do is just make sure I'm rested, and it's the body takes time, the ligaments takes time, the muscles take time. I'm going to get the bruising. Luckily, I've got natural things. Anyone out there playing this back or listening, it's important to get your first aid kit, some kind of first aid kit in your own home. With the way the world is going at the moment, knowing the basics about first aid is very important. A good job I've got my private arrangements to a couple of good people that do, and I do too. So best place, unfortunately, is when in my situation you have to just lay flat, not literally, but I'm not completely not move, because you've got to have somebody to stimulate your the parts of your body you can't feel because of circulation, and you need to be careful. You got to watch out for certain things. You just got to keep a chart and put personal tasks are being carried out with safely. Frustrating bit when I've been reminding these certain companies and emails for so long now. Certain individuals, head of certain departments, to service my medical equipment hasn't bothered to respond to me now for 8 months. I do chasing up emails and I just don't get every response. I've done by post as well before, and now that's been just, they're just piling all this information up against me, and just to imply, oh, she is not this or she is not that. Well, it's not the fact. The fact is that I have done this, that, and the other, and I've got documentation. I do not need to prove nothing. What it says is saying somewhere. Those that bring forth the claim needs to prove it with first-hand evidence, you see. But these agents work for these private companies, and some are public funded in England, are not first-hand knowledge, are they? So anyway, I've got to go, and there's a lot of history. You can't dwell in it, but these powers that be just keep digging up it all, just keep thrashing it around and along. And just remember, if anyone knows about natural health, just watch your food and keep hydrated, all the practical sense of that. And if you've got complex needs, and just keep the mind, the spirit strong and healthy best you can. If you've got physical reduction like you can just do one little thing at a time safely. It's the others you've got to watch out for. Those that are just, if you don't know anything, research the subject about Gender 2030, Gender 2040, and other people can go into more evidence of fact on that one. I'd really look. Oh yeah. So everything ties up, these timelines. But by the way, labels don't define who one is. It's just this system. It's just thought, well, something doesn't seem quite right. I hope people are keeping safe out there. The weather is cold and it is not brilliant. But no matter how much evidence and paperwork one has, certain dark side of life, shall we say, are just absolutely just out to discredit individuals that have not done no harm or caused anyone loss. Yeah, it's amazing to find things out. It's not true. Just make a note of the dates and that's about it, really. Right. Yeah. What's the time? Yeah, thanks for coming. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna put this to one side. Shut the stream down. Just get some rest. Oh, it's just that time. 9:30. That's it. Take care.